Hello everyone, my name is Mythilos. Today we're going to manually install and run OstrisAI locally. This platform will help us create LoRa's for AI image models such as Flux, SDXL, and ZImage. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly explain what a LoRa is. A LoRa, low-rank adaptation, is a lightweight fine-tuning method that uses a small set of user-selected images to adapt a base model. This does not mean that the training images are permanently added to the base model. Instead, a LoRa works as an external adapter that guides the original model both visually and technically to generate specific types of images. Because of this, the final quality depends much more on the base model than on the LoRa itself. For example, you can create LoRa's for models like Stable Diffusion V 1.5 or newer models like Flux 2, but the results will generally be better with the newer model due to its more advanced architecture and larger capacity. Also, it's possible to modify the base model, and this is where the real power of open source comes in. We can customize a model by training it with thousands of images focused on a specific subject. For example, we could create a model specialized in dragons, capable of generating them much more accurately because that knowledge is already part of its training. However, this area falls into a sensitive zone both legally and ethically. In theory, a company or individual could modify a model and train it using third-party images without permission, and even sell that model. The legal situation around this type of use is still evolving, but from an ethical perspective, it remains highly controversial. When it comes to well-known characters such as Darth Vader, it's important to remember that there are intellectual property rights not only over the character itself, but often also over the illustrations created by artists. For this reason, this type of material should be used responsibly. On this channel, we will only use this kind of training for personal, non-commercial projects. The most appropriate and sustainable approach is to train LoRa's or models using your own images or content with the proper rights. The goal is to take advantage of the creative potential of AI, but always in a responsible way. All right, let's begin with the installation. The first thing we need is to have Git and Python installed, just like in the Comfy UI installation. As always, I recommend using the most stable version of Python, which is version 3.10. We also need to update the drivers for our graphics card. If you want to skip the following steps and save time on the manual installation, you'll find an automatic installer in the description. It will do exactly what we're about to do, but with a single click. Now let's proceed with the manual installation. First, choose an installation path for the program. I always recommend installing it on an SSD for better performance. Next, go to GitHub and download the zip file into your folder. I'll leave all the links in the description. Extract the WinRAR file into the folder, then you can delete the WinRAR file. Now we have the complete repository. The next step is to create a virtual environment. The main reason for creating a virtual environment is to prevent this program from conflicting with others, such as Comfy UI. To do this, open the address bar, type cmd, and then run the command python-m venv. This will start creating a virtual environment for OstrisAI. All right, now we're going to install PyTorch. PyTorch is an essential AI library required by most AI programs. To do this, open the address bar and type command, just like before. Then activate the virtual environment. Keep in mind that you must always complete this step whenever you update PyTorch or install other requirements. If you don't, the installation won't be applied to the virtual environment and it may cause conflicts. First, we need to upgrade pip using the following command. Next, unlike Comfy UI, which is continuously updated, compatibility will depend on whether Ostris continues to update the project. On their official page, they currently recommend using CUDA 12.6, but this may change in the future. If the project is updated, you might need a newer version such as 13.0, so keep this in mind. To check your CUDA version, type the following command in CMD, NVIDIA-S. My version is 13.1, and my drivers are updated to the latest CUDA version. Therefore, CUDA 12.6 will work. If your CUDA version is lower than 12.6, you will encounter errors. If the project is updated in the future, uninstall PyTorch again, as we did before, and install the version recommended by the Ostris developers. All right, now we're going to install version 12.6. This may take a while. After that, we'll install the project dependencies using this command. Optionally, you can also install Triton, which will help improve the AI's performance. Finally, we need to create a startup file for the program. To do this, create a new text document and paste the following content. Save the file and then rename it by changing the .txt extension to .bat. The first time you run the program, it may take a while to start, but after that, the startup process will be faster. To access the program's interface, this time we won't use the address used by Comfy UI. Instead, the program will assign its own address. For security reasons, I won't show it, since it is my IP address. And now we have it running. Next, we're going to do a quick guide on how to create a LoRa. We'll try to make a LoRa of Darth Vader. As I mentioned earlier, this content is copyrighted and will only be used to demonstrate how LoRa training works. First of all, you should understand that image models do not work by finding visual matches, but by finding textual associations. All AI models currently operate through text, so if we want a high-quality LoRa, we need to create a good caption for each image. My recommendation is to use the most powerful AI models available for this task. You can ask ChatGPT or Gemini to generate the captions, and they will do it accurately and for free. We're going to create a new dataset and call it the Darth Vader. This is a keyword that will help us in the future when we combine multiple LoRa's using methods such as image to image, which we'll cover on this channel. Associating the LoRa with a specific keyword helps the base model organize the information more effectively and improves accuracy. Now let's fill in all the captions. Once all the prompts are filled in, go to New Job. Here we'll need to configure and fine-tune our training a bit. First, enter the training name, in this case, Flux_Darth Vader. Next, the trigger word refers to the keyword we mentioned earlier, the Darth Vader. Then select the image model, which in this case is Flux1. We're going to change the number of steps to 1000. My GPU has 12 gigabytes of VRAM, so I think this is a good amount, but it can be lowered if needed. At the same time, we'll increase the learning rate to compensate for the fewer steps. Enable cached text embeddings and EMA to save resources. In the sample section, we're going to disable it. This is supposed to give us a preview of the process, but in my opinion, it's not useful enough to justify using extra resources, so we'll leave it turned off. All right, before starting the training, if we want to use Flux.1, we need a token in order to train. First, go to Hugging Face and create an account. Once registered, you'll be able to access the official Flux.1 page and click Agree and Access. This will grant you access to Flux.1. Next, go to the Settings tab and create a new token. Add a new token with read permissions. A token will then be generated. Make sure to save it. Now go to Settings and enter the token there. Then save the settings. Go back to Ostris and click Create Job. Then click the play icon. A window will open. Don't worry about it, but do not close it. Just minimize it. Now you can go out for a walk around your city because the process has started and it will take quite a while. On my RTX 4070, a LoRa with only 12 images can take about 3 hours to complete when using Flux. The more powerful the model, the longer the training will take. Once the LoRa is finished, you'll find it in the checkpoints section available for download or in the outputs folder as shown on the screen. It will always be saved in .safetensors format. Now we're simply going to copy it and paste it into Comfy UI, and we'll run a quick test so you can see that the LoRa works perfectly. While this image is being generated, I'd like to explain why my tutorials are so detailed. In many places, You'll find free installers for this type of software, but you need to be very careful because it's very easy to hide malware inside them. That's the reason I explain how to install these programs step by step, so you can understand that the process is clean and safe. My paid installer does exactly what we've done in this tutorial and will save you time. However, I always recommend installing everything manually at least once so you understand what you're putting on your PC. This way you'll be better protected. As you can see, the LoRa works perfectly. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Soon I'll be uploading videos working directly in Comfy UI and sharing my workflows after 1 year of working with AI. Subscribe for more.